So this wasn't a video that I thought I would be making just because I thought I'd be doing other discussion videos, but I want to talk about Volume 7 and non-spoiler related, but I want to talk about the importance or unimportance of Volume 7 because I've seen different sides to this argument that, and again, I'm just putting out what's been discussed first and then I will give my own opinions of things like, oh, people saying that Volume 7 isn't important. I've seen some people say that the light novels skipped Volume 7, which, no, that's not even true. So the web novel never had the Volume 7 stories, and the manga didn't until a period of a while ago that then got an announcement that they would do an adaptation of Volume 7 as a separate thing. But the light novels always had Volume 7. That was the whole point. And one of the things that I had discussed before Season 2 was even announced, that Season 2 would cover Volume 7. Now, I've seen people say that it's not important, and I've seen people say that it's the most important thing since sliced bread, and that everything should be adapted from Volume 7. I am kind of in the middle when it comes to this. I think Volume 7 is a very important volume. It sets the stage for future volumes, and that's why I do believe that the anime should cover Volume 7, and it is covering Volume 7. But the question comes down to then, does it need to cover everything from Volume 7? And this is where my opinion is going to deviate and probably going to be controversial, that I don't believe everything needed to be covered. Now, in an ideal world, I would love for it to be fully covered, and I've seen people get angry at this take because, again, I try to have a grounded, realistic approach of what is ideal based on things like budgeting, time constraints, and all that other kind of stuff, because, again, you've also got to look at not just budgets and time constraints, but also pacing as well. A light novel to an anime is a very different type of media. You've got a book, it's got words, it's got some pictures, you read it, and how you consume that in your own mind is very different. You can imagine a lot of those different things in your own mind, and sometimes you can create a better image when you read something compared to if you see it visually, and sometimes you might be disappointed because you created something grander in the light novels because it left some things open to interpretation, and then when the studio comes along and goes, hey, this is how we interpreted it based on pacing and budgeting and etc., it's not as grand as you'd hoped. But there are also other constraints like how much they can fit into episodes, and I knew from the very beginning when Volume 7 started that they were going to prune some stuff out. I would love for more stuff to be in it, but I just knew deep down that that was not going to be the case. Now, I've given my overall thoughts on what the recent episode is like and what I think could have been done better, but I don't think it was the worst thing since sliced bread. I think there were definitely some scenes that needed to be polished a little bit more, a couple of extra seconds, 5 to 10 seconds added to certain scenes, particularly the tree fight, and trust me, 5 to 10 seconds can make the world of difference and different angles. That was one of my issues with the tree fight, was just certain angles used, and I think that was done deliberate so that they didn't have to do more work than necessary. It again, as far as animations go, that's where my main concern was, but as far as the pacing goes, I actually think the pacing was done pretty well. I was actually surprised that they even had the girl in the actual episode. I knew they were going to put it in the opening because it just made sense that they would do a transitional thing where Rudy does all his jobs and it would be in the opening song, because it didn't need to be fully explained what he was doing. But I was surprised how they did the girl, because I actually thought they might have skipped her completely, but instead they did it in a different way. That doesn't mean, though, that it removes the importance of her, because they can still have what's connected to her in the future episode, because she does play a role of importance in the future episode. I'm not going to say what. If you want to know, go to my light novel review and analysis where it's a full spoiler breakdown. But what was originally meant to happen is Rudy was meant to heal her foot from frostbite, and there was a bit of a monologue going on about how some healers will bait people into healing them and then throw a fee on them and then take them and sell them on the market. So it's pretty horrible stuff. But they kind of just did it a little bit different, where Rudy just heals a kneecap. That can still be used in the future episode for its relevance, but just how they did it, I think they did it deliberately like that, just to make it flow a little bit more with the actual opening song, and it also just showed Sarah in the background kind of looking and keeping an eye on him. There has been some stuff cut, and I've been called out for covering cut content. Like, again, I always like to tell fans that are anime onlys what has been cut so they know. and then they can decide themselves if they want to read the light novels or not, if they have the time. But I understand why some things were cut. Would it be nice if they added more stuff? Absolutely, but I just know that that wasn't going to be the case. What I want and what I get are two different things, and I have to be realistic. But I don't think the pacing was that bad. I think the animations could have been improved, but the pacing itself, for the most part, was fine. Maybe a couple of little tweaks here and there, but again, nothing is perfect. I mean, Season 1 had its own issues as well, and this is the thing, everyone's saying how Season 1 was perfect, but I remember very clearly when Season 1 was airing, all the criticisms in the community. But I think what's also changed is a lot of fans that were anime only in Season 1 have become light novel fans in Season 2, and now know the differences between the light novel and the anime and are much more critical because they see the differences, while in Season 1, that wasn't the case. Most of those people were still anime only, so they enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think everything had to be covered. I know that's still going to be controversial, but there's always tweaks for improvements. The issue that I also have is light novel fans looking down on anime-only fans. At the end of the day, if an anime-only fan enjoys it, that is their right. We as light novel fans have no right to tell anime fans how they should enjoy it. That's not our place, and I've always had that mindset that I'm never going to tell you whether you should or should not enjoy something. Is the same as no one should be telling me what I can and cannot enjoy. But it doesn't mean that we can't give our own opinions and say, hey, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like, and be constructive about it. I think the problem is that the community is getting a little bit too civil war-like, and they're trying to nick at each other and try and say, well, my opinion is more important. No one's opinion is more important than anyone else's, except maybe the writers. I mean, that's the real opinion that we should be looking at. And the writer seems pretty excited and pretty happy, and they've said, you know, that the people working on it are working the best they can, and they're just continuing to be excited for future episodes. And I'm exactly the same. I think the studio, the people working on it, are trying their best. Sure, there are going to be issues, but I also do think that they might polish some of this stuff going into the hard copies, like the Blu-rays, and there might be some tweaks done there. I mean, you look at Season 1, there was some scenes added, like Zenith and Paul's bedtime activities, that was added into the Blu-rays. So I do wonder if there's going to be some stuff that might be polished in the Blu-rays. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, in an ideal world, I would have loved to have seen the tree fight a little bit longer and like shown in a different angles so that you could see more. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm still enjoying Season 2. I hope you're enjoying Season 2. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and cannot enjoy, but it is perfectly fine to give your own criticisms constructively amongst the community. And I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below, what you think of these episodes in a constructive format, because at the end of the day, we're all fans of the series, and I think that's something we need to remember. We're all fans here, and we should all get along, be constructive, be helpful, have honest and fair debates, and not be like belittling of each other. And I hope that's something people take from this. I'll definitely be continuing to cover Mushoku Tensei because it's something that I really enjoy. You know me, I'll be covering it on this channel. So again, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.